Y'all can show yourselves. We don't care.
I can show myself. All right.
We would rather you.
I see you, B-dubs.
We'd rather you.
Thanks, Brandon. You know, I was hoping today that I would be understood, heard, valued, and seen, and you just made my morning.
Yeah,
There you go, man.
all of those things.
Thanks, bro.
So I learned something today.
Yeah.
It's not, well, it is noon. I was going to say it's not even noon, but I learned it before noon. There are a lot of people on the call, probably from the lovely state of Oklahoma. Did you know that Oklahomans make the best cheeseburgers in the world? At least the one that I had today, Audie says was here. Let me show a picture of it. It's so plain. This is Meredith. She's sitting here next to me, still eating her cheeseburger. Can't really see it there. Look at this.
Lift it up a little bit more. There you go.
Like an oniony, not like a lot of lettuce and tomato and stuff.
Yeah.
I do like that.
Look at Spivey's. He's got
More
his
stripped down.
little strip down.
It's so good. I'm not going to be able to finish it all.
So simple yet so good. What do you got there, Brian?
I have a wrap and string beans and turkey.
Ah,
That's why it sucks to be
My lunch.
home.
I'm working on it, man.
I'm on a gummy bear only lunch.
Hey, you know, I'm working on it. This food thing. I gotta get a high accountability on that.
You got to make sure it's not one of those weird gummy bears that goes around these days, Casey. Can't be too careful.
It's very true.
Right.
Can't be too careful these days. Well, really excited, and you'll probably hear us say this about 5 times over the next couple of hours. But Casey, were you aware that we had a record week last week in production?
It was. Very nice.
Yep. And not only a record week in production, but a record week in writers, record week in app count, and a record week in licensed recruits. Woo! Which is what we're going to talk mostly about for the first hour, as we can. And maybe before we kind of get into all of that, I will say that Sunday was such a special day for our buddy Matt Smith.
Yep.
Obviously very bittersweet in terms of kind of being back out at Camp Rockmont, where we've had so many leadership events or kind of post leadership events. That's where we used to have our dodgeball tournaments. We had the Rock to Rock Challenge, which probably has hurt me or gave me more soreness than anything else I've ever done in my life, Casey. I think you said the same thing. I was sore for probably like 2 full weeks in muscles that I didn't even know I had. And frankly, I don't think I had. That's why I was so sore. So it was good to be out there, and it was good to see so many people. And it was such an emotional, sad day, obviously. But those of you that weren't able to kind of watch in or couldn't attend, you would have been so proud of your Symmetry family and all the speakers that came up and the impact that they made. I thought it was just
Really was.
It was a beautiful day.
Very special day. Yep.
Yep. I think that the memorial service was recorded. So I'll get with Rummy on how we'll be able to kind of share that for those that may have missed the opportunity to be there. So Casey, there's a lot of things going on. I'm looking at my list of things that I want to share, and I think I'm going to skip one and go to the next one. So welcome to the first week of October. I know that technically we're not quite there yet. We're still in September, but from a 5-week turn-in standpoint, which we still love 5-week turn-ins. I know that everything goes based on kind of net place production, but I still love looking at submit leaderboards and submit records. And obviously when we were talking about breaking records this week, that was a submit record. So I would say from a leadership standpoint, how many of you are gearing up right now to create an all-time record in your agencies? And how are you doing that? What are some of the things that you're doing? Feel free to kind of in the chat, any of you leaders that have some plans, share them with us. If you've got plans specifically on, I don't know if it could be a contest that you're running, or if there's some things that you're shooting for and you just want to kind of put it out there. We're always a big proponent, Casey, of stating something to a wider audience to kind of create a little bit more accountability, if you will.
Yep.
But I think it really boils down to, if you're going to break a record in your agency, then the biggest thing that you can control is resources. The two biggest things you can control would be resources and activity. What kind of conversations are you having with your agents on your team to make sure that they're setting themselves up for a record, right? Because if I want to break a record as an agency, then I need either more writers or people within my agency breaking records themselves. And the way you do that is you talk about leads, and you talk about activity. That's it. It's that simple. One of the things that I love seeing is over the last 2.5, 3 weeks, we've been on, it's not been a record week in leads. It's been a run rate that's been very consistent with not a spike, but a leveling out of a massive amount of leads. And that doesn't count any of the DGX leads, which we'll have some updates on some of those and what it takes to be successful on the next call. Okay. Because some people are not having success. Some people are having success. It sounds like every other lead type that we have. Some people are really good. Some people are not so good, and they're trying to get better. And so we want to help everyone get better. And I think understanding the value of those is the first step there. But anyway, so leads is the biggest part of that, Casey. We're up in leads from this time 6 weeks ago. We're up almost 40% in leads in and leads out.
Yep.
That's really exciting. So I've also heard from some new agents that we have coming on that may have come from different parts of the industry. Maybe we take for granted a little bit as agents some of the lead types we have and how good these lead types actually are. And specifically, I think about A2 and A3 leads, right? A1 leads are a little harder to come by. A2 leads are a little less hard to come by. A3 leads, I want to say there's 130,000 of them. Okay.
Yep.
And we're hearing from certain people that are like, these things are gold. They're accustomed to working really hard, making a lot of dials. How hard are you working those leads to kind of pull the juice out of those? And I think one of the tips that comes out when it comes to digital leads, DGX leads, Casey, or some bonus leads is, or really even A leads. How are you trying to contact your leads? 10 years ago, when you were in the field, you would call them, you would never leave a message, maybe until you'd called them 10 or 15 times or something like that.
Yep.
How quickly do you think that you would change that mode right now to where maybe you would even drop a text to them if you had to? I would still call first, unless I'm working maybe some digital leads, because that's one of the things we're hearing that adds a lot of success. But how quickly would you move to just dropping a little text?
Well, I mean, think about how you guys do handle your texts or calls or whatever. Like personally, I don't miss a text. I see every text that comes in, whether I respond to it or not. I see a text, but miss tons of calls. So just think about how people are using their phones these days. And so a lot of what we're doing behind the scenes right now is to automate this system. We've talked with you guys about some of the technology and some of the systems we're building to get you guys to the point where we feel like we could potentially cut your work in half, if not more than that, by technology that actually kind of nurtures your leads along through automated messaging and automated text and stuff like that. So a lot of fun stuff we're working on it, but also doesn't mean, Brandon, that you can't just do it the good old manual way if you need to start with. So it's exciting times.
It is. And I think that will help with the recruiting that we're going to get into here in just a second as well. But I think that we're talking to the leaders. How are you huddling up your teams to really talk about what activities are going to dictate record weeks, record months for them as individuals and for you as an organization? The most important one is, again, it's leads and activity. Yep. Right now it's leads and activity. How many can you get? How many are you dialing? That's going to lead to everything.
And then just
Another-
making sure, in addition to that, that you're promoting the right things and, not just assuming that communication and promotion is happening because, oh, they're on the national call, so they're hearing Brandon and Casey talk about it.
Yeah.
What I love seeing these comments on the Q&A right now about people, your focus being on keeping that slingshot program in front of people. Early data is showing us that the slingshot program is working like we hoped it would. Really, it's hard to isolate some of the stuff right now that we're working on because, as you guys know, Brandon and I have been just so excited about September and October and what's to come really for the foreseeable future is that we've really thrown the kitchen sink at this thing over the past few months. I mean, with new products coming out, with new technology being kind of finally unveiled a little bit, with the slingshot bonus, altitude conferences just wrapped up. Leads are ramping up very quickly. There's so many things that are kind of at play right now that it's hard behind the scenes with the business intelligence team to figure out and isolate what's having what kind of effect. That's a good problem to have. Don't get us wrong, but it is a little bit tricky to understand what role is the slingshot playing, what role is the altitudes playing, what role are the leads playing. But the early signs on the slingshot stuff, Brandon, because of where we see the production and the riders coming from and that early levels there. So you guys keep promoting that slingshot bonus like you are. Keep it in front of your new agents. Keep using those video assets as your onboarding agents. And I think we're in for just one crazy year.
I think the slingshot bonus will work to the degree that you promote it, right?
Yep.
And how good you are at explaining it, how good you are at teaching it, how good you are at holding people accountable to it through conversations that you're having, hopefully in your huddle up calls that are happening daily or certainly weekly. So I think that's a big part of it. Something else.
It's like, what are you excited about, Brandon? If you're not excited about it,
right,
your people aren't going to get excited about it. So
what are you talking about? When you're having individual conversations, there's relationship building, but there's also, this is a business. What are you talking about? How intentional are your conversations when they're both in front of a group of people, but also individually? That's going to dictate what actions people are taking and what they're focused on, because it's what you're focused on, right? Yep. Another thing that I think we're super excited about is ears are at the mail house. I wouldn't say they're in the mail. I'd say that they're at the mail house. So you should be receiving those next week.
They're out of our hands now.
And it's exciting. And I thought it would be a good opportunity after talking with the advisory board yesterday, and I've had a few other conversations kind of since then, as just how are you promoting ears to your organization, and how should we as a team be promoting ears, and what really are the ears? What are they intended to do? And Casey, I think through the past 90 days to 120 days, we have learned more about this business than probably we have at any, year, 2-year period consecutively, in terms of just how the market works. What are they looking for? What options do we have as an organization when it comes to kind of going through this process of a capital raise, and what are we learning, and how do ears kind of how do they line up with some of those things? And so we thought it'd be important, before we introduce Max and really kind of get into recruiting, to talk about ears for a second, and to really just talk about, I think, the best ways that you should be promoting ears. So Casey, maybe take it from there. Like how would you, first off, just how do you see these equity appreciation rights?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good way to kind of start things, is how are we promoting these ears? And what we would not want to happen, we know everyone's excited about them. What we wouldn't want to happen is for maybe even early level leaders to kind of start over promoting the ears as far as the entire value proposition to the company. The ears were never intended to be the thing. The ears were intended to be the kind of cherry on top of the thing. And so you kind of, as a leader, you have to be careful with things like that, because if you start making that the thing, then everyone loses sight of the actual thing. This is the cherry on top. The ears are the cherry on top. This is in addition to the cash flow that your business is going to spit out. And our priority behind the scenes, when we're navigating these waters that we're in right now, which is how are we going to put this company on the absolute best track to be here generations from now, generational income, have your businesses to the point where they are still here in 10 years and 15 years, right? How do we protect this thing for the long haul? And so, that's where our priority is, and understanding that, the ears being the cherry on top is your business is the actual thing that's, you're talking about, spinning off. What if we could show you guys a way to in the next 2 to 3 years to triple, quadruple, or more the size of your agencies with the same work? That's the kind of messaging, and that's the kind of things that your new agents need to understand. That's the other thing about the ears, Brandon, is not everyone's going to qualify for them. And so if you make that the thing, then it could be a little discouraging to new people that look at this and say, well, I'm either not going to qualify because of where y'all are saying the kind of qualifications start, or if I do, it's just not going to be that many ears. And you're kind of putting too much weight behind the ears. What we're excited about, based on where we are as a company right now, and what's going on behind the scenes, is what's actually going to happen to everyone's businesses, regardless of what position you are with the company, whether we're talking about somebody new that hasn't even joined our company yet. The future of this thing is going to be so bright for people's actual business. That's where the focus is. And then you can, so I think, Brandon, if that's what you're trying to say,
Yeah,
we just don't want to kind of get too overly promote something that really was meant to be just the kind of cherry on top of your income,
I think it's good. Yeah, I think it's good to promote it. It's good to really understand that our messaging hasn't changed over the past 2 years when we started kind of talking about going through this process. And that is what you just said. To reiterate, our focus is on how do we continue to evolve the business in a way that allows our agency owners and even our producers to double, triple, quadruple, and beyond their businesses over the next couple of years. That's the most important thing. And as we've, gone through this process and met with so many kind of potential capital partners, I think the biggest thing we've learned is that there's really 2 to 3 types of partnerships that you can look at. You can look at a company that wants to give you a chunk of cash and you give them a big return. And in those scenarios, it may be a little more risky, obviously, for what kind of ears payoffs can be, because everything would be on your shoulders. Or do you find a company that has a lot of different synergies that is also going to invest capital, but that you can use those synergies to grow in any of the things that really help us as a company, which are, as everyone knows, it's leads, it's recruiting, it's technology, artificial intelligence, it's product dev, it's all of these things that take it a step further. But it's mainly, over the years, it's lead resources and it's technology. And then I think there's capital partners that could be kind of a combination of those 2 things, right? Maybe there are some synergies, not as many, but they're also willing to invest. And so as we're kind of going through this whole process, and probably will be again for the next 30 to 60 days, those are the things to kind of really keep your focus on. And the most important thing to us is, how are we growing people's businesses, and how are we protecting the culture so that there's not a capital partner that comes in and there's either a big change of leadership or a big change of whatever the case may be, that has a negative impact on 2 things, right? It's the negative impact on the culture that all of you guys have worked so hard to create, that is our secret sauce. But it's also, big changes in the way that we earn an income, right? Or compensation levels, or the way you run your businesses, or the level of stress that can be added on because you have certain metrics that you have to hit to do this and this and this. And that's never been who we are. And we think it's important just to kind of keep this in front of people so that they understand as we're moving down and nearing an end to this process of really what maybe they should expect or could expect. And our biggest priority are those two things. It's always about the agents and the agencies and how can we make them more profitable without sacrificing the things that are so important about who we are, which is the time value of things, the culture value of things, the purpose-driven value of Symmetry and of Quility and of Assura. So those are the most important things.
You know, I love how you described the couple doors, you know, available to us from our vantage point. And, you know, they really kind of, you talked about the first one being more of an institutional investor, you know, really they may invest in other insurance type businesses in the space, but they're not an insurance business. They're more of a kind of an arm's reach. Here's some capital. You take the capital, you go do what you think you should with it, but it's really all on your shoulders. Behind that door is a little bit of a higher risk profile for the company, because what it means is it's all on our shoulders and we better turn that money into something for the investors, right? So there's a high risk, but in those situations, there could also be a higher reward because we took that ball by ourselves and we ran with it, okay? Behind the second door, so that first door is a little higher risk, potentially a little bit of higher reward. Behind the second door, when you start looking at strategic partners, these are people who are in your space, who maybe aren't in the life space, but they're in the insurance business. And there's a lot of synergies and cross-sell opportunities. Brandon talked about the ability to create a ton more leads, or the ability to use some of the technology or some of the artificial intelligence, some of the things that a company like that is using. There's a lot of synergies in a strategic partnership.
Yes.
In those cases, you actually are kind of running with help. You have an actual kind of team with you. So in that case, a lot lower risk, meaning in the case of your ears, you know, the idea that those could be worth zero kind of go down a lot, right? Now we actually have something somewhat that's actually, it's not just, you know, like what we always say, ears are nothing until there's actually something behind
So there's
it.
something.
So we actually materialize the ears. The risk profile is lower potentially. And therefore the actual upside could be a touch lower as well, maybe. But, you know, we're going to make the decision not based on what the value of the ears would be. We're going to make the decision based on the actual, what's going to put the company and all of us in the best position for our businesses to make an impact, to be profitable, and to be here for a very long time.
Yeah. Or what the ears may be. We're not going to make a decision based on what the ears may become.
Yeah.
It's a cherry on top.
Yep.
All right. So really excited about this call, not only for today, but for the rest of the month of October, as we're really going to dig into some recruiting things and introduce you guys to somebody that has been a tremendous help behind the scenes, not only to us individually, but to certain agency owners that he's had the opportunity to work with. And it was great seeing in the comments section earlier when we were asking about what people's focus was going to be for October. I saw so many people saying recruiting.
Oh, yeah.
They get it. You know, that's the lifeblood of what we do. And what we really wanted to do for this, you know, as we're kind of moving into the last quarter of the year, is set everyone up to really take advantage of the last quarter of the year. Everyone that's been here for a while knows that this is the most profitable time of year. It's like clockwork, Brian Delaney. We get to mid-September, late September every year. There's a record broken, and then another record broken at some point, weekly record broken, that is, through the fall. And we don't necessarily know why that is. We think we know a little bit about why that is. People are back home. They're back into their routine. They're back. The kids are back at school. Everybody's not at the beach every weekend. And especially this year in the summer, I think there was a lot of pent up energy from people being cooped up and not being able to go enjoy themselves. And so, but regardless of COVID, the final quarter of the year has always been go time. And it's like the best time of the year to go, just absolutely make it happen. And that is especially so with recruiting. So I wanted to first just kind of introduce one of our business partners, Mr. Max Day. So Max, you're in what I'll always love your background. It looks like you're in like the Bonsai Hall of Fame. And we get a chance to kind of see that every time we huddle up with you, which over the past 90 days has been a lot. We've had the opportunity to get together with you a lot. And not only, as I said, us, but there's been some AOs. So maybe before we kind of get into how you can really help and maybe teaching some of these folks listening in today on how to better their recruiting efforts, Max, let's just hear a little bit of your background. The one thing that we loved about you from the get-go is that you have a lot of tech experience, and not just experience working in technology, but owning your own company with how many employees at your peak?
When I had 75, we've always kind of worked through this software development to make sales better. And I think that's what fits really here with Symmetry. That's kind of what we're doing, is we're bringing on technology. And so that's kind of my background, was marketing, but utilizing software to increase that capability.
And then, so you were tremendously successful doing that, and then actually found your way to the insurance industry. Probably surprisingly so, like most of us, never necessarily saw yourself as become an insurance agent. But I think the other thing that we love about your background is that you've done what we do, and not just from a production standpoint, but also from an agency building standpoint. You've been in the industry, you have worked with an IMO, you have built an agency like all these guys have done. And so you kind of know what it takes to recruit, and you understand the lifeblood of building a good organization is recruiting, right? So your marketing background mixed with your agency building background makes you kind of the perfect storm for us, buddy. So I'm sure I missed some kind of key parts there of your background, and feel free to share with us anything else that you'd like to.
Yeah, I really am thankful that I'm with you guys, and I've spent several years now developing how to recruit, but it came from a lot of background that I have in understanding messaging and marketing. But the beautiful thing about coming to work here, and I did work for one of your competitors, and my brother wanted to start an agency, and so we developed a good marketing strategy behind it. In other words, what you just said in the very beginning, where the things you can control your resources and your activity. And we immediately saw that recruiting was where all the money was at. I mean, obviously, if you have the heart to help people and you're willing to spend the time to nurture people, which we were, and really help them make money, you had to have a communication level of a system that really worked. And so when I looked at it, I said, well, I don't really want to get an insurance license, Mike, but that's my brother, Mike. And I said, but I'll sure help you get started with the marketing. We developed this system that we kind of implemented here with several of your managers in the last year and a half or so with being with the company. And the way we ended up doing it, Brandon and Casey and guys, is that we knew that we needed to do this manually, if you will, so that everybody would really understand why it works, the science. What we wanted it to work for everyone. We didn't want it to just work for guys who'd been in marketing or guys that are, really good speakers. We wanted it to work for every single person we recruited, so that if they wanted to build a team, how could I duplicate that process? And, in this space, what I've learned, Brandon, over many years is that, sometimes people kind of hold secrets and they don't tell each other what to do and everything. And what I've always done is been willing to share and give to everyone. And you always seem to get blessed when you do that. So for me, I was just so excited to bring this over here to this company. The culture of Symmetry, and I'm not saying it because I'm just on the call, but I'm pretty much retired, and to come back to this company and work in a culture that you guys have developed and really, truly, sincerely putting all your hearts and your money behind it. The people that I've met in management, all the AOs, all the advisory board people, it's just like, it's a blessing to be able to work with them. And so if we talk about growing and we talk about recruiting, there's processes that we have to integrate. And I always call this recruiting as a communication ecosystem. If you think about what we're doing, we're advertising, we're saying some words on an ad, we've got a title in there, and we all kind of had to learn that from each other. And sometimes we just take what somebody else is doing, and because we do have, everybody on this call's had good success doing it. But if we could get it to the point where maybe we got a lot more people in using the same amount of time, being able to train them with the HQ system and all the things that you have, and you have the right messaging going on and the right content being sent out, and everybody's kind of doing the same thing. And then it becomes not a worry to share because it's working for everybody. And that's the reason that I ended up developing this for my brother. And we put, 1,500 people in our agency in 12 months. We had 150 unique writers in the first 12 months using this exact thing.
I love it. So
I can get into the details, Brandon, and I
think we can. I think we definitely should. I also want to get into just maybe now, Casey, is the time to talk about some changes or some updates that are coming down the road with recruiting.
It really has to do with kind of Max's role going forward as a company. We're continuing to just invest everything we can to help you guys out with the things in your business that are hard to figure out. Like that's why we've always had a lead program. If we can put agents in a place where you don't have to go out there and figure out all your own marketing, then we're going to do that. And as you can see over the years, we've gotten quite good at that. At getting really good leads in agents' hands. Well, why wouldn't we take the same approach with recruiting? Why wouldn't we try to solve that problem behind the scenes and throw as much muscle and technology and support as we can into the mix, which is why we've, officially kind of locked arms with Max to help us with that. And so you guys are going to start seeing a lot more kind of centralized focus on recruiting, generating those recruiting leads, which Max, we can speak to in a little bit too. But at about the same time, we also, Brandon, as you're probably getting ready to mention, we've also been forced into this a touch, the idea of centralizing some of our recruiting efforts, because some of the platforms like ZipRecruiter, as an example, and some of you guys, that's become a little bit of a dirty word for you right now because of, how they've kind of went up on their pricing and they've kicked some of the agency owners off. And a big part of that, and Max, you can speak to this a little bit, is that they are really coming to the table and saying, guys, you're so large and you have so many people recruiting. This is not the look and feel that we want on our platform. And we also don't think it's the best look and feel for you and your objectives as a company as you're trying to be a household brand. If you look at the Aflacs and the other large companies that you guys actually, what we have is we have a better opportunity than those guys. But because we're so splintered and it's so much like the wild, wild west of recruiting, it actually hurts all of us together. And so they're saying, you guys need to kind of take a centralized approach to this, like the other big players out there. And if you do that, and Max, you're the one talking to the head honchos at ZipRecruiter as an example, so correct me if I'm wrong, but they're saying if you do that, not only will you guys all get a better result if you manage the subscriptions in-house for the agency owners, we'll get more leads at a lower cost, and they'll actually pony up some money to help that too, because it helps their platform and it helps them from kind of losing valuable clientele, because people don't like to see that where there's an experience where they're trying to get a job, but there's 15 people in the same market trying to contact them or whatever. So yeah. Brandon or Max, I don't know if you want to kind of follow up.
Yeah, I think what I think is the good analogy is, we do buy, would we want to risk our own capital and have to generate our own leads for production? No. I mean, that's why we have Symmetry. I mean, that's a difficult thing to navigate. You got to understand gotta have the capital, number one, to mail out all this mail and do all the digital leads and everything else. Well, why not move it over into recruiting? Not only because it's a consolidated buy, and therefore we're ultimately going to get better results. We're going to be able to compete with the Bankers Lives and the people at the top, because they're creaming the crop off, because they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a month in advertising on ZipRecruiter. And obviously when that happens, and they're going to grab the greatest candidates. And so when they started, when ZipRecruiter went public and they started kind of tightening down their belt on who they wanted in there, well, yeah, naturally they want to have all the big guys and get all the, and kind of push away the people that are not necessarily doing it right, may not be saying the right things in the ads, creating problems for them as a public company. They use algorithms, and it's a pay-per-click platform. And they know by just artificial intelligence what's being said in the ads, what's being said in the titles. And so when you start standardizing some of this messaging with the proper words, in other words, working on the inside of ZipRecruiter with them on exactly how to grow and build our overall quantity of leads, but increase the quality of leads, and ensure, and also they've made a commitment to Symmetry with us to actually increase our buy with their own money. They love what we do, and they love the ads that we're running now, and everything's working really great. And they've even, they're putting their money where their mouth is. They're saying, if you guys will do it, you're going to get a lot better flow of leads. You're going to get a lot better quality of lead. And it's like the industry is kind of consolidating there, Brandon. I don't know how to really, don't think that, we're the bad guys in the block. There's a whole lot of people they took off the platform. And it's not like we got bad people, we got great people, but it's a matter of what their decision is to kind of move forward, and for us to be able to play in the game. And we need to be in the game in a big way. We've got to kind of work with them, with their technology, with the way they're growing, with the way that we place our ads. And not to say that we can't have everybody's input on the adding content, but when we have certain content, it has to be congruent. Our messaging all the way through has to be congruent. And all that really means is let's not be bait and switching. Well, I don't think most of the people bait and switch here, but you do have every now and then, sometimes you don't even know you're baiting and switching because that's not your expertise. You're an insurance sales guy. You're trying to grow a business, and you're not really a marketing and advertising person that's a copywriter that knows how to do it all.
Yeah, that's right.
Really good point. It's like, initially I think people have been frustrated, scared. And I think we were probably initially feeling that way for a while too. I think now what we're seeing is this is such a great opportunity for the company, for the builders, for everyone to lower your cost per contracting, and also just increase the number of people that you're able to bring on. And I think what should be really important to everyone is the biggest opportunity of kind of protecting the brand. Yep. And making sure that we're getting in and not just recruiting, but recruiting the right caliber of people, because we're able to attract the right caliber of person. Yep. So we're really excited about where this is going, Max. And maybe obviously we don't have all of the details worked out just yet, but we're working through those details this month. But maybe we can talk, Max, just about some of the individuals that you have been working with, some changes that they've been able to see through their own recruiting processes. And then maybe we can start just going through some tips and things to kind of kick off this 5 weeks of recruiting with Max.
Yeah. And I think that's really what all of us on this call would want to do. You hear so many people talk, and we get on these calls, and it's, we want to have something practical, something that we can apply in our business right away. So what I decided to do, and I took different divisions and people in each one of these divisions in different levels of AO people and even below. And I wanted to do what I knew would work, but do it at a level where people aren't used to recruiting. They're not, that's just something that if you show me how to do something, Max, I will do it, and I won't ask any questions. And now that you guys have had the video content and all the great stuff that we've got at our disposal to use to push out into this communication, it's just working well. And so I worked with Haider Istanbuli. He just became an AO. we just started implementing this process with him, and he, you know, we like to just do it manually a little bit. Okay, here's what you say in your text, and here's when you send it, and here's what you say in your email, and here's the videos you're going to put in there, and here's what you need to get the people on your calendar, and how we push them and make sure that they get on the calendar link that you've got. And then why do we send that email the first day? How do we do it where, you know, we're trying to do it as soon as they apply? We don't want to wait, because you guys know you sit on a lead a long time, and you know you're going to get no shows. And so when you have it a system, and this can all be done manually, it can be done right now. You can literally just get your lead, know what to say, text this message out. We know what to tell you to leave on a voicemail when you call them. Send this email out. Have a calendar link in there with the links of the videos that we've been using. You can do all of that yourself. I mean, how many leads are you getting a day on recruiting? You can certainly do it. It can be done manually, and it's easy. So that's kind of what we did with Hayter and Dave Albero and some others. And so as soon as we implemented it, and I want to talk to Brandon about the science behind why it works, but still, as soon as we implemented it, top of the board on their teams, most packets in.
Yep.
And it started working immediately. And I'm going to explain why, if that's okay, Brandon.
Mm-hmm.
Why it works is we, as human beings, like to be communicated with. If we didn't talk to our wives for 3 days, she'd probably think something was up. And so, you know, it's a natural psychology. You know, when you're going to a store and you have to wait 15 minutes or at a restaurant for 30 minutes, you don't like that. You know, you even though you're going to be kind and nice, especially people from the South, you know, we're going to still be nice. But one thing about it is this, it's irritating. And so if I'm looking for a job, what am I doing? I want somebody that's looking to really work with me. I want to be able to be communicated back with, but I also want to know that the person that's sending these communications is the real deal, that they're not pie in the sky, that they're not lying to me, they're telling me the truth every single time. And so when we have this messaging going out in the email and text, and it's telling the story, because what we do is not what's important, it's who we are and why we do it. And that's what we're talking about, our culture here. And that's why these videos are so important, that we've now got to be able to let these people see and hear it. But when you think about this, somebody applies, how long is it before we talk to them? Well, with us, we want to do it in real time. I don't care if I'm sitting there, and I know you do production and everything else, but you can do this manually in real time. It's not a lot of effort. It takes focus, and you got to do the activity that Brandon was talking about. It's like whatever you're doing in the activity now to do your production. If you have a calendar, you're gonna work on your calendar and your production calendar, and in between your recruiting, in between your 2 hours between or 1 hour between the next appointment on production, it can be managed very easily. And so what are we doing? You want they apply, we're going to call them immediately. We're going to send them a text. We're going to send them an email. And by doing that, we have beat 89% of the companies and the managers and the agents that are our competitors, because that 89% quit after the fourth contact. They call a few times, they leave a voicemail, they maybe send one email, and that's it. They go on to the next lead. And the person deserves better than that. That's applied to our ad with our brand on it. And we're looking for a good person. That person might have been an entrepreneur that just decided to get back in the game. He's a 20, 30, 40, $50,000 guy. He wants to build a team. He's interested, or she's interested in getting into an ecosystem and a system that's going to support that growing of a business. Because ultimately where all the money's at here is the leverage of having agents in your agency and treating them like human beings, treating them like you care, giving the right communication to them. And so we've developed this little communication ecosystem, Brandon, that helps get that done, and utilizing some live interaction, because you can't do all of this automated. You've got to have people making a phone call, and some automation that's really, really using the right content now. It's really working well.
Let's pause there for a second, because I love what we're already kind of getting into. And I want everybody to think just for a second. How many of you answer phone calls from numbers that are not plugged into your phone? There might be one person out there raising their hand right now. I do not.
Yeah.
I never answer.
I don't either.
The second part of this question is, Is there ever a text that goes through your phone that you don't read? I think I read 100% of them. Now I still will get some spam occasionally, and I shouldn't because I'm on the do not call list, but I will occasionally get some spam. Not very often, very irregular, right? Even then, I see what it is. I read what at least pops up in the screen without clicking it. Okay. So I think things have changed so rapidly in the way that we communicate with our cell phones that we have to change and be willing to change very rapidly with it. The power, Max, as you're saying, when you apply for a job or when you ask for a quote for insurance, as an example, from a digital lead, the power of them receiving communication from you as quickly as possible is arguably the most important thing for that moment.
No
Obviously,
doubt.
what comes next is also important, but how do I let them know that, we hear you, we see that you've applied, now we're going to have a conversation? That starts everything and is critical to everything. Email is also a part of that, but I will also say that there are a lot of emails that may go to my junk, or it may go to my clutter, or I may not recognize it, I may not read it, that sort of thing. So I would just wanted to throw that in there real quick to get everybody thinking when it comes to working recruiting, when it comes to working digital leads, when it comes to those type things, even working direct mail leads. If I've called several times and got no answer, text them.
And so
We see
just
it
seeing
all the time.
seeing some questions real quick too, Max, come in, just around kind of when are we kind of, when are some of these recruiting processes going to be available to us that are new, that kind of thing, just kind of to frame this up for everyone, on how we're going to approach this. Yes, we're going to be working behind the scenes. We're already working on recruiting funnels. We're actually digging into the OC sites right now with some of the advisory board members to get those to look like the recruiting funnels that are actually working, but to give you guys some customization and personalization there as well. Max is dealing with ZipRecruiter right now to get it under the corporate umbrella so that we can start manage. There'll be two kind of components to the way we go about handling our recruiting department with Max. Some of it will be that we'll more than likely, we're going to be managing the subscriptions. So it's not like we're going to be taking the subscriptions from you guys from ZipRecruiter. They just want us to manage those subscriptions and start designing the ads and the funnels and stuff, Max, to where one centralized person, yourself, will be in charge of kind of making sure that we're not in a market like Dallas all seeing the same message, right? That we actually, again, try to really increase the amount of quality and quantity recruiting comes in. And so it's going to take someone at the center like a Max to really understand how to do that. And that's the beauty of Max. He understands how to do that. The second component outside of managing subscriptions will be to continue to lean into recruiting leads. And we're going to talk more about that in a second, Brandon, but that's another thing that we're going to start ramping up, just like you guys see in our leads for our client leads, where we try to turnkey that and make it a per lead basis. That's what we're going to do with our recruiting department. So it's not, it's not unreasonable to think that, Brandon, we could be producing 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, 8,000, 10,000 potential recruiting leads a week that you guys don't have to have a subscription to something to get, but especially you new agents can say, you know what, I have $100 a week I want to invest, and I'm going to get 10 or 15, 20 leads for that. And so that's what we're trying to do behind the scenes. But that being said, Max, for right now, and that's why we wanted to have at least for this month, to start this call at noon going forward and call this like Max Out Your Recruiting with Max Day series or something like that. We can think of a better name if we want, but what can we be doing right now? And I see Delaney and Jacob on too. I know you've kind of probably worked with some others as well, but what can we be doing right now while we're working on these systems behind the scenes?
I think the easiest thing we can do is maybe send out some basic best practices and implement and have everyone implement this, because I mean, everybody's recruiting that's on this call, and you're already doing much of this already. Let's just kind of organize it in a way that kind of helps you get yourself organized, so that when the bigger flow of leads come through, interestingly enough, we all kind of know how much we pay per application if you've been recruiting very long. And now that ZipRecruiter went up on their prices and everything, and that's kind of doubled. And what we're having the ability to do, Casey, is keep those costs managed, even that price or a little better, because now if you doubled it, you're at $20 per application on average. And it's been, that's getting out of hand. And that's why we need to, it's great that you guys are willing to come in and keep it manageable for everybody on the board. And I, obviously I see the cost, I know the cost, and it's something that we've got to do. And when you think about either taking them off, think about this: the lead comes in and it'll go into opt right now in real time. This happens in real time. Somebody applies, within minutes, a couple of minutes, it's in opt. So if I was an agent wanting some recruit leads, and I would be refreshing my opt, I would be looking at those leads coming in whatever given cities or states that I'm in, or maybe I want to go nationwide, or however I want to do it. I did nationwide, but either way, refreshing that and watch the number go up. So you got 2 there, now you got 9 there. That you take those down, and then you implement this little process. And believe me, 89% of the people will open their text. If you will text them, and all you're really saying is, hey, John, thanks for applying today. We really appreciate your interest in our company. Check out your email. We've only got a couple things we require before our phone interview today. Really appreciate it. Look forward to talking with you later. And the same thing on an answer machine message. You shoot that text out, you've got this content that we're going to give you to send in an email. But you also pick the phone up right then and you call them, and you're not having to pitch them or anything. You're just saying, listen, we really appreciate you applying with our company. It really means a lot to us. We're really looking for some quality people. We're getting a lot of applications right now. And so I wanted to personally thank you for doing that. Whether this is an answer machine or live, this is what you're saying. Please look at the email we just sent you, because there's a couple of things in there we want you to do. It's going to take about 7 minutes. And once you get through that and you click on the link to schedule a phone interview with me, I'd really appreciate talking with you then. But we do require that. And so when you do that, they're going to quit looking and listening to anyone else that they've applied for. You've communicated with them in real time. You've said thank you for coming. Then we're going to let the business overview, the testimonials, the excitement of maybe an incentive trip and things that we've been testing that's really been working. And they're going to watch all that with your signature in it, with your name in it, with your calendar link in it. They're going to get on your calendar, and all of a sudden you're going to see your calendars fill up with recruiting leads, because it's been pre-sold for you. It's been the truth has been told about what we do and how we do it and why and what's the model. We don't have to worry about pitching that. Yep. Now we've got a little short script that we're going to talk to them when they call in, and they're basically ready to go. So, I mean, those are the ways. That's kind of the thing that I wanted to implement when I first did it, because I wanted it to be very easy for anyone to do, regardless of your level of abilities as far as recruiting goes. Yep.
That's it. Brian, Jacob, any thoughts on this? You guys have been on the advisory board calls as we've been shaping this stuff up, and I know you guys are big recruiters as well. So
I want to go first because you said big recruiter, and I'll just set Jacob up. So that's all I have to do. But I'm really fired up about not only like you said, we're throwing the kitchen sink out at it as a company, and first and most importantly, I'm Brian Delaney, part of the Pritchett organization, and direct to SFG, and just can't tell you how grateful I am to be a part of the company that consistently over the last 10 plus years has made decisions that benefit my business, even when I can't see it on the front end, right? And the growth of my business, because I'm connected with the right people, with Edward, with you guys, with all of the people on my team, my business continues to grow, sometimes in spite of my lack of belief in some places, but it's powered so much by me just getting on board with the things that are working and being willing to adapt. And I feel like this is just a season in our company where as we innovate, innovation isn't necessarily going to drive the company forward. It's innovation plus adaptation, right? Plus adaptation and our willingness to grow and say, this is how we can lead during this time, because we've got a team full of people who are set to explode. We've got this past month, we had a record 188 recruits, right? Broker record by 6 or 7 recruits in a short month, 4-week turn in, right? And that was a previous 5-week record. So fired up about that. We've watched our average unique writer on a monthly basis go from 6,900 up to 7,200 APV, right? What that means is more people are getting more profitable quicker because of the slingshot bonus, because they see what used to take a year to get the agency owner, they can now get done in 8 to 9 months. These are the things that we can be thinking about and promoting, because we've already made it better. Who is it going to be better for? And I think that's where the real growth happens in our business, at the intersection of these clear processes that Max and you guys are really integrating with some great marketing and the healthy relationships with great people that we get on board. And that's really where we have to move on, because I know Brandon, you and I have gone back and forth about this. I was new to the company, and I was like, Brandon, I'm not going to recruit quantity. I'm just going to recruit quality, man. And you're like, no matter how many different ways I said it, I always received the same response from both of you guys. It was always a head shake and be like, that's not how this works. But I wanted to be right more than I wanted to grow, right? And those are the type of things that we have to put away. And those are the type of things that the leaders in my company, whether it's the Spiel Enter organization, really turning it up with Aranza Larrigan, just breaking out as agency owner, with Ian Graham constantly leading the way with systems and consistency that are not only getting recruits on board, but helping to convert those into new writers and then go to SNAs. He just had another absolute record month. Josh Busick killing it on the recruiting side, and his team. All these people, just even when you say my name, it's not me, it's we, every single time. I have nothing, like, we're recruiting in our base shop, we're growing, we're doing all that. But more importantly, we have to set up the systems that automate it so that on the days I want to and the days I don't, new people get to look at the business and have an opportunity to come in, because it's not what we do once that creates our business. It's what we do consistently that creates us, and then we create our business, right? As we build it, we become it. As we become it, we build it. We have 9 offices across the country right now with 5 leases currently signed. In addition to that, to get us to 14 offices, we expect to go to 24 before the end of 2022. And by 2025, for that number to be 45. Because what we know is for every operating office we have, it's another $1 million in APV in a year, right? And so do we know our numbers to incentivize us toward that growth that we do? And I love what we're talking about, getting lower on the cost per applicant. But here's the real deal. We're not in this business to save money on dollars invested wisely in our business. We're in this business to maximize those investable dollars, not to invest as much as possible, but to invest as much as profitable in those areas where we know we can blow up. And if you guys do the simple math, and this is something that Edward talked to me time and time again about, and you guys talk to me, it's like, look at the math on your spread. When you identify one new person who gets on our 2 to 3 year path to financial freedom, and you'll never look back. So we know this isn't a quantity versus quality conversation anymore. It's a capacity and values conversation. Are we sticking to our core values? Are we bringing people into this culture? And how many can we bring in at any given time in order to serve them well, so that so they can be on this journey with us? Because that's what this is really about. And we're right now we're just fired up. We're breaking records. We have so many people who are we've got so many people on the climb right now. We have 6 120s that have the opportunity to break out in 2022. And we have another 9 agency owners who are ready to break out as well. We're getting ready to crush it. And why? Because the soil is right and the seed has been watered and it's time to go. That's why. Because we have great processes and we have excellent people and we're ready to go. I couldn't be more proud of my team and my association with you guys because it's absolutely changed my life. So fired up. And for Max Day, I got to chat with him this morning. Yeah, like when I got around Edward, I felt really stupid. And I had that same feeling this morning around Max. I'm like, look, I should know these things. And so just with the little bit we know, plus what Max is bringing to the table is about to get crazy. So fired up.
Fun. It's gonna be fun. So get ready for more Max this month, guys. We're gonna start these calls at noon every Wednesday, at least for October, I think was the plan, right, Brandon?
Yeah.
So if
Jacob,
you guys want out there just tuning into the national call, you want to know how to up your recruiting game. Not only are we going to be working very hard with Max behind the scenes on centralizing some stuff and creating more and more quality recruiting leads, but also jump on these calls because there's a lot of things we can do in the meantime for everyone to sharpen their skills, sharpen the messaging, tighten up our recruiting funnels. Just let's get this thing on the ropes right now, like we already have it. And just this is where business is really fun, Brandon, because what we have right now is we have momentum. It's the big mo. And when you get the big mo in the atmosphere, that's when you get the shovels out. That's when you get the backhoes out and you start digging like crazy, because the work that you're doing, you can get twice the results under big momentum and big energy as you can under normal circumstances. So this is when you have to lean into stuff, which is what you're seeing all of us do right now behind the scenes, what all of you guys are doing out there on in front of the whole audience. So let's keep leaning into it, Max. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you,
Jacob,
guys.
anything you want to add to that before we?
Yeah, man, I know we've got
jump?
the national call starting. I'll just gratitude, man. Casey, you said centralizing this. First of all, I've been so highly impressed with you, Max. One, your skill set, your knowledge, but your heart for people. And that's who this company is. You want to serve people. So just so grateful for you. I can't wait to connect on a deeper level with you. I told Brandon last week, I'm going to be reaching out to you. So excited, guys. Casey, you said we're kind of being forced to centralize recruiting. Well, newsflash, we were also forced to go to Zoom. And what has that done? Virtual selling.
Exactly.
And what has that done for our company,
That's
right?
it, man.
Yep.
So I couldn't be more excited and talking through how we're going to do this, what it's going to look like, reducing the cost for our agents who are recruiting. Brian said, backing ourselves in a corner with activity because of these streamlined systems. That's when I'm at my best. Is when I'm forced to actually share this thing.
That's right.
And so I don't want to take up any more time in the national call, but just grateful, man. We've got we're exploding. We broke a record. I can't wait till next week on our monthly builders call when I get to hear how many of our people broke a record. But it's because of the things and the investment you're making, and centralizing this is a huge investment on your part. And I don't want people to miss that, right? And the people that are willing to change and grow and aren't married to the past are the ones that always win here. The slingshot bonus, everything you're doing is why we're able to break records. So thank you, guys. I appreciate you.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you, man. Another quick,
Thanks,
exciting
Max.
announcement is, in addition to getting Max on, Casey, we almost forgot to mention, for the month of October, all recruiting leads are being dropped from $15 for a non-licensed and $25 for a licensed recruit to $10 and $15. So 10 for a non-licensed, $15 for a licensed individual. That goes into effect, Joe, today, tomorrow. Okay. That's
And
exciting.
guys, again, to back that up, Brandon, we're going to try to continue to do just like we do in our lead program, where we throw as much of our muscle behind the scenes and corporate support and brains like Max in the room. We start to lower our acquisition costs for leads, whether that be a client lead or recruiting lead, and we're going to pass that savings on to you guys as much as we can. So we feel like we can do these leads for around that, but if we feel like we can lower that even more, then we'll do that.
Absolutely.
Again, our money is made, guys, when you guys are successful. the more net profit we put in your pocket, the better the company does. And that's always been and will always be our focus.
Love it.
Thanks, Max.
Maximus, thank you. Looking forward to it, man. He's a good one.
Yes, be
Whew.
good. Looking forward to that,
It's,
man.
well said by Jacob Pogue. We got a good one. Speaking of today, Mr. Sean Shannon. Want to unveil for me for a second there, sir? Senior Vice President.
Hey, yes.
There
I've
you go.
unveiled. There we go.
You are unveiled. Give us your best promotion of what's to come after we hit some leaderboards and announcements.
So the thing that I think is awesome is that they're awesome and amazing people that are going to be sharing with everybody. I guess I always look at, okay, well, what has inspired me the most in this business? And it's usually a touch of somebody's story with a little piece of their skill set and some of their heart set. And then probably like some kind of metaphor mixed in as it correlates to the journey. So, we talk about with this, which is, falling in love, doing it for more than a paycheck. It's really kind of like the correlation of your journey here, your journey and success as a relationship. And like, how do you find that long-term success?
I love it.
So that's what I got.
Very
I
good.
love it. All right, let's